Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to rank some eyeshadow palettes. I have the 4 newer ABH eyeshadow palettes in the newer packaging, these ones. So this is the last one, the Fall Romance palette. I have the first one, which was the Nouveau Palette, and I have the Rose Metals, and I also have the Cosmos palette. So I'm going to share my thoughts on all of these 4 palettes, show you swatches, and I will show you some looks as well with these 4 so that you can see how these palettes compare to each other. If you are interested, then please continue watching. Okay, so number 4 on the list out of all the 4 newer ABH palettes I have, this is the one which I like. On number 4, this is the Cosmos palette from ABH, and it I think came out last year around June or July, and that's when I got this. This was one of the first eyeshadow palettes I bought in New York. So this is how the palette looks like, the Cosmos palette. The entire theme of the palette is around cosmos, cosmic. So all of the names of the shadows are also something related to that. So this is how the palette looks like. It's a really pretty palette, and I just fell in love with the color story when I had seen it the first time, so I got it. But the more I use it, the more I realize that this is not a very everyday friendly palette. So that's why it's on number 4. Otherwise, the colors and everything, they are just gorgeous. Today's eye look also is using this palette. I'll try to give you a close-up so you can see this is not a very everyday friendly eye look. It's a more party, more occasion palette. There are 5 true mattes in this palette. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mattes. 2 of the mattes, this one and this one, they have a very nice purpley, lavendery kind of a tint. So this has a more lighter tone, and this is a deeper purpley tone. And then of course we have this light brown, which is a peachy brown, and then you have a little bit of a deeper brown, more chocolatey kind of brown, and these 2 are also very nice. So these 5 mattes are perfect for everyday if you just want a simple wash of colors. There is one more matte in the palette, which is this blue color, which is a matte, but it is infused with light blue sparkles in them. So if you are a fan of smoky eye, you can apply this like all over your eyes and it will sparkle and glimmer. I personally don't do looks like that anymore, so I am more of a neutral kind of a eye look lover these days. So I will use this probably as an eyeliner. Very pigmented, super pigmented color. I hope you can see how it's sparkling. It has that blue sparkles. The rest of the shades in the palette are very multichromatic, duochromatic, iridescent kind of colors, which I love. Aren't the metallic colors just super beautiful? They are so richly pigmented, and they swatch so beautifully, and they apply so beautifully on the eyes as well. So there is a blue right here which I have on my eyes today, by the way. The blue is called Super Cluster. It is a blue green kind of a shadow. It has a blue green flip with a slight bit of silver, and I just love this shade. It's so smooth. The metallic shades in this palette, they are buttery soft, they're smooth, and they go on the eyes so smoothly, and they have a sparkle to them. Only this shade I think is a little bit more softer. I dropped the palette once, so it has crumbled a bit, so I had to press it down. So you have to be a little bit careful with this palette. The metallic shades especially are a bit soft, but I think that's what makes them so smooth on the eyes. Then you have Sun, which has a pink gold kind of a flip. It's super interesting, pink gold champagne flip, so gorgeous. Then you have Orion, which has a pink, light pink and peach kind of a flip. That's also super gorgeous. Then you have Mercury, which is a silver. It's very intense silver, one of the most intense silvers I have ever seen. Silver actually looks really good on our kind of skin tone. And then we have Kasar, which is a green, lime green and kind of a pink flip. It's a very classic multichromatic shade with a lot of indie brands, and that kind of shade is in this palette. I just love this. Actually, this shade and this shade actually doesn't look very different on the eyes, but there is a subtle difference. But on the eyes, it may not look very different, especially on my kind of skin tone. And then of course we have Supernova, which is that purple blue classic duochromatic shift purple blue. Oh my god, I just love this. I have this purple blue in the inner corners also today, by the way. So I'll try to give you a close-up of the eye look which I have done. All in all, a great palette. Now when I'm going through all the shades, I'm kind of wondering why this is on number 4. But as I already mentioned, the palette as such is great, the quality is great. Just be a little bit careful with this shade right here. It tends to have some kind of a fallout. Other than that, I think the palette is very easy to work with, and you can get a lot of interesting looks out of it. But as I already mentioned, it's not a very everyday friendly palette for me, so that's the only reason it's on number 4. So this is the ABH Cosmos palette. Okay guys, so the next palette which comes in number 3 is this beautiful palette called the Fall Romance palette. This was launched last year around the fall time, and this is my pick for number 3. I have also changed my eye look to go with the palette. This is the palette which I've used for this eye look today. This is the outer packaging, a very beautiful shade of purpley berry tones, and this is of course the inner packaging. Such rich tone, I just love this color, and this is how the palette looks like. I will definitely give you close-ups of course, but this is how the palette looks like, and I love the color story of this palette. This palette reminded me a lot of the Colourpop Good Sport palette, which also had a very purple and green olive tone combination, and I love this combination. That palette had some warmer tones also, but this one doesn't have too much warmth in it, but it's still a very beautiful palette. I think olive and purples, they go really well together. I'm placing it on number 3 just because it is a little bit more user friendly. Like, you can still use it for everyday. The colors are neutral enough. The other 2 palettes which are on number 2 and number 1 are, I would say, more everyday friendly, more usable. So that is the only reason it is on number 3. It has my favorite purple tones, of course. As you could see, most of the shades in this palette are more deeper. They show up really well on my skin tone. I love the tones of the mattes. There are 5 mattes in this palette. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is sort of like a satin matte. It's not a complete matte. It has a little bit of that shimmery, satiny shine to it. And this one is also a really pretty matte. This also has kind of a shimmery, satiny finish. It is a grey toned brown, which looks really nice. So on an everyday basis, I can use all of these colors, and I love especially to wear matte olives. I think they look really nice on everyday basis as well. I can use them as just a liner. I can do a little smoky eye, and even this one right here, it's just a nice wash of color on the eyelids. So on an everyday basis, I have a lot of neutral tones to play with, and they show up really well on my skin tone. The texture and the formulation, the pigmentation, all of them are really good. With this one especially, there is a little bit of fallout. You will get some kind of flakes on the face, so just be careful. Other than that, all the mattes, they work out fine. Out of the metallic shades, I think there are different textures. So there is one shade called Midnight, which is like a aubergine purpley kind of color, which is a little bit flaky, but it's super intense metallic. I have already shown you the swatches, but here it is. Like, it's super intense, very nice metallic shade, and you can top it up with the different textures you have right here. Then you have this one, Smoke, which I love. It's such a pretty neutral color. It is a very nice fine silvery blue kind of shade. I just love this color so much. It looks so beautiful. It has a little bit of a flip. So when you apply it, especially on my kind of skin tone, you apply it, it doesn't look too much, but in certain lighting, it looks so pretty, and I just love this color. Look, in certain lighting, it doesn't look like anything, but then it gives that bam. So it's really nice texture, this one, Smoke. There's Moonlight here. Moonlight is a very sparkly, light purpley color. Here is how this one looks like. It's a very sparkly, iridescent, light lavender purple, which goes very well on top of this one, on top of this one. This one also, I'm not sure why I'm swatching all of them again. I've already shown you the swatches, but I just love this purple as well. It's so pretty, and I think I am biased towards this palette because I love purples. Next we have Fireside, which is a beautiful rose gold pink, very intense metallic shade, which I have on my eyelid today, which you see on the center of my lid. I will just give you a quick close-up here of my eye look. I have a deeper olive shade in the outer V here. I have this metallic purple shade Divine on my eyelids here, which you can see the purple tones. And then I have Fireside here, which I have in the inner corners. I have this shade and this shade in the crease and the outer V. I think the combination of these look great. And in the absolute inner corners, I have this one. This one I just can't stop using. It's just such a pretty silvery blue kind of a shade. It's really pretty. It has such a nice flip. Then we have Crown, which is more like a greenish duochrome multichromatic shade. I just love these, this one and the previous one also, that there are so many interesting shadows inside. They are not just metallic shades. You have an interesting flip, or there are some sparkles. So the texture and the quality of the shades, they are not your average metallic shades. There is something more to it. It's very easy to mix up the brown and the green shades. Do a quick eye look. I just love it. I think it's a very well done palette, and the color story is very nice. The colors go together very well. I don't have too many problems working with this palette. It's very easy to work with. All in all, it's a great palette. If you love like rich jewel tones, purple tones, olives, matte olives, there are great options in this palette. So I will definitely recommend it. Now let's look at the palette which is at number 2. I think you must have already guessed which one is the number 2 palette. This is the eye look which I have created with this one, and if you'd like to guess here, then you can guess, otherwise I'll let you know. This is the number 2 palette. This is the ABH Rose Metals palette. I just love the packaging color of this. This is one of my favorite kind of metallic shades to wear on my eyelids. This is the Rose Metals palette. This is just an absolute neutral palette lover's dream. If you love neutral palettes, if you like to glam up during festivals, weddings, then you should have this palette. When I saw this palette for the first time, all I could think was Indian weddings, Indian festivals, Indian outfits. You can create looks with this palette which will go with all kind of Indian festive wear. This is such an amazing palette. Before I talk too much about this palette, let me quickly show you the swatches. It was so much fun swatching this palette. The shades are just super soft and buttery. Amazing. One great thing about this palette is that you will get every kind of neutral shade that is out there which you might need, and all of the matte shades which are put in this palette go so well together with the metallics. I just love working with them. So there are 4 matte shades in this palette, not too many, but all the mattes, they just are, I think, sufficient. So there are 1, 2, 3 and 4 matte shades, different tones of brown, peach. There are 2 warmer brown shades and 2 kind of neutral cool tones. So they are a good nice mix. You can mix and match. You can just wear the matte shades on their own also. They are great for every day. Then we come to the metallic shades, or the beautiful intense metallic shades. There are few intense shades which I think are my favorites. First is Haze. I think this is one of my favorites, and this is the shade which I was saying is very similar to the cover of the palette. I just love this one, and that's what I'm wearing on my eyes today in the middle. So that's just the one shade, and there's a little bit of this brown and a little bit of this brown, and it feels like I have done so much, but actually I haven't done so much. That's the beauty of this palette. You don't do so much, but you can get such a beautiful eye look, and it will look like you have spent hours in front of the mirror. Then we have this one also, which is Nova, which is, it's like a olivey, deep olive green kind of a metallic shade, olive gold. It's so beautiful. It's just super beautiful. With any kind of Indian outfits, langas, saris, this will look so gorgeous. So that's another favorite shade of mine in the palette. And of course we have Nocturne, which is that deep silvery gray. This is also so pretty for night out, smoky eyes. So these are all very nighttime kind of party kind of colors which I just love in this palette. And then of course we have these kind of shades here which are a little bit more pinky burgundy. I love this color, which is more of a satin kind of a color. It's very soft, perfect for daytime use. And then you have two kind of brown and a burgundy. So this is like a brown metallic, chocolate brown metallic, and a burgundy berry kind of metallic. All the metallic shades, they are just super smooth, intense, soft, but they don't really have that crumbly texture. Very soft, but they go very smoothly on the eyes. There is not much fallout also. In fact, with this palette, I don't think I have noticed much fallout like the other two palettes which I already mentioned. One shade which I would like to mention is this one, Rose Fire. It's like too soft. This palette also I had kind of dropped on the floor, so this one came out slightly because it is so soft in texture. This one is a very bright copper with a little bit of a pink flip. So this has a slight like a duochromatic feel to it. This is also very nice. I am not big on copper shades. I don't wear copper a lot, but this one has a slight pink shift, so probably I will wear it, but this is not something I gravitate towards in the palette. And you of course have this one, which is like this is a very interesting shade. It's like a light white gold kind of a color, which is very good for inner corners, which I have done today, and it will look good on the eyelid also as a regular eyelid color shade. You might have something similar already in your collection because the shades are not super unique, but I think I have seen a neutral palette with so many neutral metallic shades in the same palette after a really long time, and there's not much effort to do to create an eye look with this palette. So that's something which I really enjoy about this one. So ABH Rose Metals palette I would definitely recommend if you are someone who loves these kind of neutral shades. Okay guys, so we're down to the last palette for the day, definitely not the least. This is placed at number 1. This is the ABH Nouveau Palette. Honestly, if you ask me, it's very difficult to choose between the ABH Nouveau Palette and the Rose Metals palette which I have right here. Both of them are very wearable neutral tone palettes which I think are very easy to work with, and you get some very easy beautiful looks. So it's very difficult to choose between both of them, but since I've had this for longer and I think you can get little bit more wearable looks with this, that is the reason why I'm picking this one as number 1. So I love the packaging of this one as well. It is a very nice olive green kind of packaging, and it has kind of a denim material packaging, something different from the other palettes. And this is how the color stories looks like. I will definitely give you close-ups and I will show you the swatches as well. Very pretty color story, something very different, and this was the first palette which came in this kind of a format, and I have actually done a full review video on this palette 2 years back. I think I got this back in Singapore and I've used it quite a lot. I think it's clear from the swatches that this is a little bit more wearable palette. There's not a lot of variety in mattes, but still it's a pretty interesting palette in terms of the color story and the colors which are placed in the palette. So this palette has 5 matte shades. So there are these are the mattes, these 3. Then this one and this lavender shade, which is a really pretty lavender, which I have in my inner corners. By the way, this is how my eye look is. I will just give you a close-up so you can see that lavender in the inner corner just as a pop of color. And I have used this shade right here, this peachy brown tone, which is a warmer tone in my crease. And then I have used this shade right here, which is the shade Lily. It is a very pretty sparkly shade. It has like flecks of fine light blue sparkles, and it has a multi-chrome duochromatic feel, like a pinky champagne kind of a color. It looks so pretty on the eyes. Look at that, it's just super pretty. So that's what I have on my eyes, and I just love that shade. It's quite soft in texture, so this also came out a little while moving from Singapore, so I had to press it back in. Very simple matte shades in this palette. What I do is I usually just apply one of these matte shades as a wash of color very frequently on my eyes using this palette. There is a light matte shade which is very good for like the eyebrow area, This kind of a light matte is not there in any of the other palettes which I showed you before. So this comes in very handy. I like to highlight the eyebrow area, so I have that in this palette, so that makes it very convenient. And there is this very nice deep brownish black color, which is not a matte actually. It has a slight satin sheen. It's not completely metallic also, but it has a shine to it. It's not super intense metallic, but it's not matte. I love that. And that one has gone as an eyeliner on top today. Like, I like to apply it as an eyeliner and then use one of the metallic shades. So one of the metallic shades on this shade, it looks really nice. So that's what I've done today. It gives a nice gradient, and I love the texture of this. You can use it as an eyeliner also. Oh, before I go to the top row, forgot to mention this one. One of my favorite kind of shades in the palette. I just love these kind of that oil slick color. And if you have been following me on my channel, you guys know I just love this shade. Purples, this shade, that taupe shade I mentioned, I just love this kind of shades. Okay, moving on to the top row. As I already mentioned, this one is what I have on my eyelids today. I love this color. And this palette also has like a kind of a taupey bronzy shade, little bit more warmer than your regular taupes. It has a more bronzy taupiness to it. So this one also I really like. And of course we have Hope here, which has more of a olive green silvery tone, which I also really like. I think the reason why I like these shades are because they are something neutral, but something different from your regular neutrals. They have something unique to them. There are two more metallic shades right here, very smooth, very soft. I think on lighter skin tone these are going to look much better. These two I use mostly as like an inner corner highlight. So definitely a very neutral tone palette, but something different. This one is intense, but not so intense as the Rose Metals palette, which I feel like is more appropriate for more glam looks. Whereas this one is not as glam, you can still wear it on a regular day out basis. So I think I like the wearability factor of this, and the shades and the color story is a little bit more unique, and I have used this palette a lot. With that, I have come to the end of today's video. Those are all the 4 newer ABH eyeshadow palettes reviewed for you. I hope the swatches will help you to decide if you like to get any one of them. If you have used any one of them, just let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I am very interested to see what comes up next, so we will stay tuned. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you're watching me for the first time, I really hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again very soon in my next video. Bye.